Hi there viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Dave Ritchie's, Be Better Prepared with Dave Ritchie's, and today we're going to be talking about water filtration. Now the video, I'm going to do some water filtration with a bit of hammocking as well, but I want to just get a couple of things straight before we start. Okay, water filtration is not the same as water purification. Different things, okay? Water filtration will not get rid of your viruses because they're too small for the filters, okay? And we're going to see this in the video shortly, okay? So knowing what you're walking into and what filtration or purification you need is important. So for example, if you're walking in the Lake District and you descend down to one of the lakes to get some water, well, every single lake in the Lake District in England, from Windermere all the way down to Little Angle Tarn, they all contain serious levels of fecal matter. In other words, human waste. Okay? Over 50, 60 years, people have been, digging little holes and having a poo, but it slowly works its way through the ground into the lakes. In the Grand Lake, the Grand River in Michigan, there are several recreational areas along the way, and tests were done about 10 years ago for adenovirus, and in some of those areas 16% of every sample contained adenovirus, but other areas 66% of the samples contained adenovirus, and they're taking the samples off the surface of the water, not going into it. So when you put your pan in the water to get your water for make your brew, that's exactly the same place that they're taking the samples from. Okay, now the main reason for viruses in the water is unfortunately people, because it's human waste that creates most of the problem. Okay, now if you're walking somewhere where the people just don't go, then you've got a much better chance of not having any viruses in the water. Okay, but I would still scoop out the water, make sure it's clear, and then put a purifying tablet in it at the absolute minimum. So if I'm going to go through the filtration, which we're going to see in a minute, I'll still put a purification tablet in it. Okay, you might ask, why filter it in the first place? Well, filtering also gets rid of particles, and particles is where bacteria gathers around in balls. So and then when you purify it, well, it kills off the outside layer of bacteria, but like the crust on a loaf of bread, those on the inside remains alive. Anyway, but basically all I'm saying is, if you are going to go off into the countryside in a different part of the world, do some research as to what the endemic viruses are, okay? And if there's a lot of people in the area you're going, you should purify that water. So filtration and purification are different, okay? Let's get on with the video. Okay, so I'm out in the woods. I'm going to do some hammocking a bit later on because the ground isn't really suitable for tentage. But on the way, I've decided I'm going to filter some water for a drink. I'm not going to carry all my water all the time. So I found a suitable water source, and you can possibly see the stream behind me there. So I'm going to dive into there and filter some water for make a brew, and maybe take some with me for a drink for later on with a purification tablet in it. So let's run through my filtration kit. Let's just turn the camera around. Right, so here we have, first of all, this is the filtration part. This is the bit that goes in the stream. That is the actual filter. Just to turn the camera around again. It filters bacteria and parasites and mosquito larvae and all that sort of stuff. Okay, it does not filter viruses. The virus is smaller than a bacteria quite a lot, but around here we don't have a history of waterborne diseases which are viruses. Okay, so I could drink this after I've purified it. I'm not going to. I'm going to boil it to make a brew, but I could drink it. If I was in an area where there's a lot of endemic disease, waterborne virus type disease, you need to do something after this. This will get rid of your bacteria, but not your viruses. Okay, back to the kit. So like I say, this is the bit that goes in the water, and that's the filter, and that is connected to the pump. Okay, and the water goes in here. This is the dirty water goes in there, comes out, and the clean water comes out there. And this pipe here is used to take the clean water. Now notice it's in a bag. Okay, you keep this separate. You never let this get in contact with any of this other kit here. Okay, because if this has got germs, you don't want it getting into this bit. This should be sterile from here onwards. And then the water goes into, I collect it in this beaker, and if I want to do some sterilising, there it is. All right, after I've collected water in my little beaker, I then transfer it to a larger container for transport or whatever later on. Okay, so like I said earlier on, anyway, I've got a, so this is my, I've got a container. This is for non-purified water. I've got another one elsewhere for purified, so I'll just put that down there for a moment. This is a container that's going to receive the water as it's getting cleaned, so that's going to sort of live there. What you do is you put the filter end in your water source. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and weight it down with something. Find a stick or something, and so I can. Okay, right. Weight it down a little bit. Stop it from moving around. Okay. This end goes into the clean. Okay. Right, so I'm gonna have to keep hold of that. Right, and then you basically all you do is you pump up and down. Okay. Takes a moment to get going. Once it starts, there you go. There's the water. In a minute we're going to see how clean it is. Okay, there it is. Then that water will get poured into my larger container, which I'll be taking away later on. Okay. We go out hammocking rather than tenting if the ground is going to be, you know, unsuitable. So if it's sloping, rocky, more lumpy. So I'm just going to show a little picture of somewhere behind me. Okay. Now, change that. Where is it? Right. This area here is where we're going to be doing our camp tonight. Okay. I'm going to string the tarp up between these two trees. That one to the silver birch tree there. Okay. Now, first of all, the distance. I like it to be 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 decent steps between the two. And you can see on the ground there's all of this all over the place. The ground is not flat, and in fact, if you look at the ground, it's actually sloping from left to right. So generally not a good place to put a tent. We're going to put a hammock. Now I'm going to have to tidy the area up, and I'm going to carry on once I've put everything up, and then we'll be talking about 1 or 2 little points along the way. So this space here is going to be turned into my hammock. All right, so there we have it. Okay, in between these 2 trees. So what I want to show you is this bit. How am I holding this bit up? Well, all it is some strings. They just come up, and all they do is, trying to keep the focus going, they just loop around that peg, and it comes down to there with a little loop on the end. So I get a bit closer. So there's the loop, just comes around the peg. Simple as that. Okay, and at the other end, something slightly different. This time, I've got a stick being used, and I've got a string. Here's the string there. It basically goes round the tree, comes back round. It's got a loop on the end of the string, and that loop's gone through that loop with a stick through it, and the loop can't come back out. Great. Now, a little word on my location, because you know I don't like being disturbed when I'm out. So this is my location. I'm on the edge of this area. Now all these ferns in front of me, there's a path on the other side of that. However, as people are walking along the path, they will not be looking this way, and if they did, they would have to have really long necks to look over those ferns to see me. So I'm not far from a path, but I'm invisible. And seeing as I'm not having a fire, I'm just using my gas cooker. I'm gonna have a great night. Okay, catch you later. Thanks for watching.